coping strategies, because I see in my school, SCMS, I see a lot of issues. We can go through kids' mind and see, they are struggling, not because they are not, they are not good or they cannot understand things. But there are a lot of extraneous factors which are actually impacting them. So I want to ask Akshara Damle, he is a mental health expert. What kind of coping strategies should employee adapt to cope up with the change, and specifically what students can do?
Yeah, I think it is a very important question. Before that, I wanted to touch upon the pain point that I created here. While I spoke in favor of work from home, at the same time, I'm also helping companies to bring back employees to the workplace also. We are creating new models to bring people so that it is creating a balance in terms of work from home and work from office, because I also believe that human touch is very, very important. Because when you are meeting new people online, it is very temporary and it is very transactional, as you rightly said. And when you meet people in person, it is very, very long-lasting relationship that you can build. Probably, I was actually thinking if we had conducted this panel discussion on a Zoom call, probably it wouldn't have created an impact what it is creating right now. So I'm definitely in favor of people meeting each other in person, but then with certain new modalities putting in place. Coming back to the coping mechanism, I would like to ask the audience here, how many of you have gone through stress in your life? Please raise your hands if you have. Okay? Yeah. And how many of you have anger issues? Anger issues. That you get triggered with some anger.
Very honest audience.
Yes,
I
thank
really
you.
appreciate that.
Yeah. And how many of you get sad and get stuck with this vicious thoughts of this sadness again and again, again and again, again and again?
Very good. I really appreciate you coming out, actually.
Yes.
I really appreciate that. Very honest.
And whenever you think of a new idea, how many of you think about what can go wrong in this idea than what can go right? Okay. So this is how we are developing a kind of emotional state for ourselves. And this is where we need to work upon. So generally, again, I will touch upon one or two things because maybe otherwise it will take a longer time for me to address all the types of emotional issues. But when we talk about stress, because I saw almost everyone raising hands for stress, correct? Now, when we talk about stress, for that matter, in fact, most of the organizations or the employees in the organizations also complain about stress being one of the major factor which is impacting their life, be it professional or personal. So what do we do when we have stress? Generally, what do we do? If I ask, I can ask you some of the coping mechanism. How many of you do that? How many of you listen to music when you're stressed? Raise your hands. Okay, very interesting. How many of you go for a long walk when you are stressed? Okay. How many of you just go to bed and sleep when you are stressed? Yeah. How many of you engage in binge eating when you are stressed? Binge eating. Correct? And how many of you put on your Netflix or some other television and watch some show, and that too sometimes binge watching? Yeah. So these are the coping mechanisms that people have generally adopted for themselves. Now I'll tell you what is the problem in this coping mechanism.
Please pay attention because he is actually tell you what is right or what is wrong because he is a mental health expert.
Yeah. So if you look at all these coping mechanisms that we have adopted, the primary underlying factor here is distraction. Do you agree? For a temporary period of time, you are distracting yourself from that stress-causing agent. It can be a person, it can be a thing, or it can be a situation. Correct? But when you come back to the same situation, the stress-causing agent is still there. Correct? It is like Vikramaditya and Betal. Betal doesn't leave you. So that is where the challenge is. Correct? Now, instead of distracting yourself, can we look at what is creating stress in us? In real, the underlying factor behind the stress is the inadequacy. Do you agree? Wherever you look at any stress-causing situation that you have faced in your life, there is a sense of inadequacy that you face or feel because of which you feel stressed. Otherwise, the same situation is not causing stress to everyone out there. It is only causing stress to you. Correct? In the same way, the same person may not be, the same boss is not creating stress to all the employees, but only few employees are getting stressed because of that boss. Or maybe the vice versa also. Sometimes subordinates also create stress to the bosses. Yeah. So, it is the inadequacy within ourselves which creates stress. Now, where is this inadequacy coming from? There are certain emotional blocks that we carry because of our life experiences. So, as we grow from being a child to an adult, we go through different experiences and we create different meanings for those experiences. And that becomes a pattern in our mind. And that is where this inadequacy comes, and that is because of which we feel stressed. If you are able to address your stress situations at an emotional level, then you will be able to cope with stress at a much better way. I don't say stress will not be there, because it is a very romantic idea to have a totally stress-free life, but you will be able to definitely manage stress at a much better way when you are looking at an emotional level. So that is something that is missing. The reason being, if I ask all of you, what is the emotion that you have right now? How many of you can tell me the exact emotion that you are going through? Generally, we are trained to say, from our childhood, all of you remember your kindergarten school, the teacher taught you, whenever somebody asks you, how are you doing, what are you supposed to say? I am fine, thank you, and you. Correct? Whether you are really fine or not, nobody bothers. That is where the whole problem is. So we are not taught to actually relate with our emotions that we are really going through. We are only taught to say good, bad, sad, happy. That's it. But if you actually look at the world of emotions, there is a huge number of emotions. So that is something that we really need to get in touch and then look at the different emotional coping mechanisms, and then it will be easy for us to deal with stress, and we can be actually managing stress at a much better way. And in fact, some amount of stress is also important, that we call in psychology as eustress. Right? So some stress is also required, otherwise we will not get out of our comfort zone. So that is possible for us to establish for ourselves and lead a good, happy, and very productive life for ourselves. So that is what my reflection is.
Thank you so much for such an elaborate response. Let me just pause and see if anybody has any questions. Anybody wants to ask any questions? The gentleman want to ask a question. Please go ahead.
I have a question to all of the panelists. Anyone can answer. At this day and age of AI, where it is booming so heavily, as all of us know, and very fluid workplace environment, as all of you guys discussed, what are skills that can be the major differentiator for people like us? And what is the job security like because of AI? Because as ma'am said, that it's taking so many jobs and it is either automated or replaced. So what about job security for students like us, and what is the major differentiator?
I'll start off and then maybe I'll ask the other panelists to add in. The first thing is about the skills that will keep you ahead, right? That was your first question. I don't want to talk about the tech skills because tech skills keep changing. Now it is the AI wave. 2 years back it was the cloud wave. Before that it was some other wave, right? So tech and digital will keep changing. But what remains constant is your ability to learn that skill, right? So the learning itself is a skill. The ability to learn, unlearn something, and then learn something new is a skill, right? So that's one thing that you need, because throughout your career, you will be learning. Learning doesn't necessarily mean sitting in front of a computer or a classroom and learning. You'll be learning by observing people. You'll be of course, there are the traditional courses and certifications, etc. But the learning you get by experience and the learning you get by working with people is a lot more. So the ability to be a sponge, right, where you're constantly absorbing inputs, that's the first skill. The second skill is being flexible and open, right? Nothing is as bad as you think it is in your head. You know, it's actually not. I think our mind makes it worse than what it actually is. So the flexibility in being open to any new experiences, to say that this will be a learning opportunity for me, right? Because career is a marathon. Career is not a sprint. You need to have a long career. People work for 40, 50, now these days people work even beyond 70, even after retirement. So what keeps them going? This is learning, flexibility, and focus on communication, right? These are things that don't change. The ability to look into someone's eye and speak, it instills confidence in the other person that you are confident about what you're speaking. So these are the three things I would talk about. And you spoke about job security. If you have the ability to learn and make yourself ready for the skill or the job, you don't have to be scared of anything, right? AI, sometimes I feel maybe we overdo it by saying that AI is going to eliminate jobs and, we are going to be run by robots, etc. You still need someone to build the AI robot, right? You need an AI builder, So who's going to be that? That AI builder has to be a human, right? So, so there is, within AI, you will have an AI consumer, right? Someone who's going to use AI to make their own job better. Right? It just gives you more time to take on something more. So earlier, if you were responding, if I'm just taking a very low-end job, because that's really the kind of jobs that will go away, right? The jobs of a help desk, a help desk level 1 query handling, where you have customers asking queries. So you have bots that are generative AI, they are intelligent enough to respond. Those are the kind of jobs that go away. Intellectual, creative jobs will not go away. Right? Jobs like Mr. Akshara Damle's job will not go away. You will always have people who will need advice, who will need the ability to get in touch with their emotions, etc. So the way for job security is, again, to learn, to be aware. And he spoke about being aware of what's happening around. If AI is the big thing, okay, do I have it in me to ride the AI wave? Maybe. If I don't, pick something which will not change. There are evergreen skills. HR is one of them, by the way.
Mike just came towards me. Okay, so now I have to answer.
No, shall I add something? So, two things. One she said actually learning. So, learning is called mother of all skills. And you must have a constant habit of learning, because, when we are saying change is the only constant, the learning has to be only constant too, right? How will you change? Because you have to change, right? Second is this concept. We will talk about gig economy very soon. This concept of job security is going to change, right? I'm not saying it's going to go away. It's going to change, right? So also about the jobs, as she said, there are certain types of jobs which are repetitive, which are process driven. Step 1 and step 2 and step 3 and done. Those jobs don't require any, intellect. Those jobs are going to go away. She talked about creative jobs. They are going to stay. Please go ahead.
So, quickly on the gig economy, how many of you sometime have seen a rider on a bike with a Dunzo helmet, a Zomato dabba, and a Swiggy jacket? Have you seen that? Yeah, then you know what is gig economy. Okay, so that is basically where it's starting, but I think high-tech jobs also, especially extremely niche jobs, I think gig economy is doing well, where, I am known to be an individual contractor, I work for a number of hours that I want and so on. In terms of the learning piece that ma'am you were speaking, there is this concept by, I think Carol Dweck, she's the author. It's called Fixed Mindset and Growth Mindset. Okay, it's a 2-minute video on YouTube, and then there is a 45-minute video on YouTube. If you can, go and watch it. It basically says, and Satya Nadella used this concept when he was turning Microsoft around. So he said, don't have this fixed mindset where I believe that, okay, I am stuck, I can't learn anything more, I put in enough efforts, I am done, right? Versus a growth mindset, which is curious, humble, giving myself a little more chances, saying that, hey, can I explore a little more? Can I figure out what is coming up? And basically build myself on a day-to-day basis. So answering your question on job security, well, world has changed. There are still those jobs that gives job security, but then the pay scale will start at 20,000 and increase by 250 rupees every year. Those jobs are still there. But if you're looking at 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs kind of jobs, then there's a risk reward, no, always. So try and become a little more.
Just one more point I want to add. I think at least in the last few years, you're seeing a lot of the tech companies, you see news of Amazon laying off people, etc., etc. I think gone are the days when you could say that if someone is laid off, it's because of a performance issue.
Absolutely.
Right? It's not anymore. In fact, it is the organization's business thing that has changed, right? They hired people for certain set of skills. They don't want to do those projects anymore. The organization has now taken a call not to work in that space, right? Those are times when, people feel that, have I done wrong, right? But it's actually not, right? Because so that's why that confidence in your own ability and skills is what will get you far. Right? Never go by what others tell you that you're not good or you're bad. Right? It's really all in the mind.
Yeah. I think both members on the panel are very helpful to me because they give a takeoff so that I can take it forward. I think I would like to take it from there because I would like to share my personal experience. That I was preparing for UPSC examination to become an IAS officer. I was an aspirant for an IAS post. And coming from, I did my graduation in biotechnology and I hated history because I couldn't remember all the dates. How many of you had this issue? Remembering the dates. Why should we break our head? What someone did when, correct? And I also had little challenge in understanding economics as a student of science. But when I had entered this stream of UPSC, I had to learn all the subjects. Geography, history, economics, environmental studies, science, politics, and polity, the constitution. Again, this was one more challenge for me, remembering all the articles of the constitution. How many of you had this challenge again? Remembering articles of the constitution, article 13, 14, 15, 16, correct? So, as a student, I went with these kind of conditions within myself, but I cleared prelims, mains, and appeared in interview twice, but unfortunately missed to get into the finalist by 10 marks. That actually says that I could learn all these subjects without much difficulty once I started loving those subjects. So, coming to the idea of learning that she had put out, what I'm saying is there is something called as neuroplasticity in our mind. If you are plastic enough, then you can learn anything and everything so that you can adapt to the new changes. And the fear of losing the job, I think the similar kind of fear was there in even late 80s or 90s, where when the computer was introduced in the systems, a lot of people were scared that what will we do when the computers are there to do our job. But now the new jobs are created by using the same computers. So similarly, as she rightly said, maybe you are using the same technology and creating something new and creating new avenues and opportunities for yourself. So that is how I look at it.
Very good. So let's expand a little bit on gig economy, right? I think we would like to talk about that. So there is a talk of major part of global economy converting into gig economy, right? I think it has been in the air for a few years now, right? government is also already planning to bring gig workers under ambit of labor laws, right, and framework, minimum wages, provident fund and things like that. How do you see gig work culture expanding in India? Right? How do you see it expanding in India? I know Dunzo is there, Swiggy is there and stuff like that. Do you think it's going to spill over to white collar jobs also? Like jobs our students are aspiring, that jobs you and me are doing today?
I would say definitely yes, because currently I think it's at about 6%, but eventually I think it will go up to 30%.
30%. Okay.
And what will eventually happen is the monolithic job description would be broken down and made it very simple. What this also means is a lot of community learning and collaborative working will come into picture, right? So even I think I recently read that there is a company in China which is about valued around $100 million, which has 100% gig workers.
Gig workers. Okay.
And how they work is only based on community. So what these organizations do is build on these communities. They break down the silos of these accounts based on regions and all the parameters that is putting them to, separating them and getting them together, right? So breaking them down and getting them into communities and leveraging these communities will eventually take gig workers to a higher number, of course.
So you think actually gig work culture is going to, or the
It's definitely
organization
going
will
to
actually
work.
spill over or maybe completely come into the white collar jobs?
It will.
Shall I pass it on to others? I mean, what do you think?
I think it's already happening, right? She spoke about, so what organizations are doing now is large projects are getting broken down into smaller pockets of work. And, you then offer it on a platform. In India, in the US, it's very popular. In India, it's picking up. You have these platforms like Gig, Vista, etc., where they connect. It's like a marketplace, right? They connect the freelancers to the opportunities, right? And it's especially happening in the space of design work. You want, interiors done for your office, you get a gig work done. You want, in your actual project work, if you need a specific kind of coding, etc., you break it down into a package and you put it out there. It is definitely picking up, and it's actually a great, source of income. It definitely requires a different mindset, though. Not everyone is successful in a gig economy, right? Because the ability to, there might be times when you don't have any opportunity coming your way, right? So how are you going to manage your financials then? So the skills required to be a successful gig worker is different from the skills required to be a successful worker in a corporate.
I understand. She wants to act. So I think pay attention, because gig, I think most of you will, at least in the middle of your career, will be amidst organization culture which is actually maybe 60% gig. I don't know if that will happen. So it's very important for you to know what they're talking about.
And just to add on, for those people who just can't do one job, a 9-to-5 job, this is it, because these jobs would be short term. It could be a 3-month or a 6-month role. So you don't get bored and you get to leverage your skills. So you get to learn more, you get more experience. So for those of them who just cannot do one job and can't be at one place, then this is for you.
So, you want to add? I have one final question. I have one more after that. I can see some murmur going on because they are getting bored, I think, maybe. But I have one question actually about organization culture. We talk about hybrid working or remote working, gig culture coming into place. So, is there anything like organization culture which is talked about, for example, in Infosys or other companies? Do you think that will remain? How will company actually preserve the culture? Because the culture is supposed to be a USP for companies actually, right? So how will they preserve the culture?
Yeah. So I don't know what they want to hear because they are talking among themselves. So if
Anybody has a question?
if you all have a question, you all can ask.
The gentleman has a question.
Because I don't know,
Feel free to ask questions.
Anant, I don't think they care about organizational culture, right? So
He has a question though.
yeah.
Let's take the question first. Or anybody has any other question on what we have spoken so far? I think please feel free, absolutely feel free.
I'd like to ask a question on change management, like related to organization and stuff. So every employee requires change during work. So how does the company handle resistance, work or projects maybe? So how does the company handle resistance among employees when implementing new work policies?
Very apt for you.
Do you really care about this question, or did somebody give you this question?
No, I really care about this question.
You really care about it? Okay.
Because during organization and stuff, I have worked in a company as an intern.
Okay.
So generally they just allot work as it is, and they don't look about the skills of the person.
Okay.
So they want to learn skills. It's like when you are giving work to someone, so you don't look upon the skills and you just give the work.
Okay, so and that impacted you?
That impacted me. So
So
I
yes,
just wanted to know how does the work
organizations, okay.
policy work in the company?
Okay. Yeah, so I don't think organizations really have like a very structured framework of change management around this. Okay, at least I can talk about my organization. For us, it's project-based work, right? So when talent moves from one project to the other, there is a huge database at the back end, which has the employee skills. Then there is a project demand. You do a match, then typically fresher level, they aren't given too many opportunities to refuse, right? If your skill is found as a match, you're asked to go work in the project, and they are given maybe 1 or 2 opportunities to refuse. Beyond that, no. So it's as simple as that. It's a skill match, and then at a slightly senior level, the project manager would talk to the employee, right? And will explain, this is what this project is about, this is what the client deliverable that we are working on, etc. It's as simple as that. We adopt change management practices for larger org level changes. For example, if we are changing, the entire performance process in the company, right? So we don't know how it will impact multiple people. So then there are structured frameworks. This for us, for a lot of our companies, it's a day-to-day job, right? You need to move people. But I think we leave it to the individual manager to manage the employee. And if there is a skill mismatch, right, then the employee needs to speak up and say, this is not the space I want to work in, right? And it's okay to say that, because then in a large organization, there'll be a lot of other opportunities, right? So change management is not, like I said, so I mean, it's a very large word for me, right? When it comes to an individual, it's about, this is the project, this is the work, please go deliver.
Look up something called transition cycle on Google. Okay, it's usually used in grief and such events. But then when, let's say as a youngster, you're getting into something and the change is hitting you, what I'm sensing is probably how do I manage the emotions that come up, right? And if you were to look at transition cycle, there's a certain place where people make peace and then start building out from there. Okay, where you find internal resources and energy. So probably that's a useful resource.
Start from denial and then transition. Is there anything specific you want to follow? You have a follow-on question on that, or?
So we follow something where we keep saying a job or a role is what you make of it, right? A job description will say something, and not everyone, nobody in fact follows what's written in the JD. It is really what you make of it. Your outcomes will matter, right? So anybody, if you pick up a job and if you feel that's not a job I like, try it out. You never know, it might surprise you. So I said be open.
Anybody has any question? He has a question. Please go ahead.
No, we want others to
Yeah, others. No one has question. I'm sure he has a question. He has been
There's
waiting to ask.
a last bencher question, which is gold.
I think, he has been waiting for some time.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Then we'll go to that.
Oh, sorry.
Hello. Then one more question from faculty. We'll come to you next, and then after that, faculty.
So recently there was a wave on social media about work-life balance and mental health, and a lot of these topics that people started talking about. And it's because a notable figure mentioned something about how the work culture has changed, maybe for the worse. So my question for you is, how can freshers like me navigate through this hustle culture that we call, and what are possible red flags that we can look out for to make sure that we aren't taken advantage of and the opportunity that we get is perfect for us and for the company as well?
Excellent. You want to take that? We have an expert here in the panel, so he does this every day.
Yeah, I think whenever you're looking at a job or even I mean, this is how I look at it. Maybe it may vary from person to person, because again, psychology is a very subjective subject, or discipline for that matter. There is nothing like 0 and 1 rule, right? So I always look at how aligned are you with whatever the culture that you are entering into, or whatever the work that you are getting into. If you are aligned, then nothing else impacts you. If you are not aligned, then everything else will impact you. So it is for you to introspect and ask yourself, what is this really aligning to me? Am I really getting aligned with this work culture, etc., etc.? And then maybe you look into what needs to be done. Say if there are certain issues that are not relating, that you cannot relate to, maybe you can make certain internal transformations, or maybe you will have to look at it otherwise. So I think it is very personalized alignment thing that has to be looked at, because we cannot create cultures for thousands of people, because everyone will have their own expectations. That is difficult to match for an organization. So that is where I think as individuals we also have to contribute, and maybe you can bring new initiatives. As a new employee, I'm sure there are opportunities for, as he was rightly saying, that you can create new proposals for your own manager, saying, can we do something like this? I think this will create something, maybe some kind of fun or whatever you are looking at. So initiation from your side can also be a contributing factor for that. That is how I look at it.
Can we go to the last? We had a question.
Hello. Good afternoon to all. I'm Renuka. So what my question is, like from many of the people, what I have heard is when the company hires an employee like us, like engineers, the priority they give is to the either to the internships that we do in our 4 years, or else to the hands-on experiences that we have, like on what all projects do we have done in these 4 years. Or like even I have heard from many peoples that even if you don't have an experience on the internships more, but your skill set matters more. Of course, skill set will matter, but in the skill set, your whatever, hands-on experience projects that you work will matter. So I wanted to confirm, I needed confirmation from you all, as you all are HRs hiring us only. So that what is it that you all consider while hiring us? Like what is the preference given?
I'll help you clarify for yourself. Okay?
Okay.
Now, let us say both of us are running a company and we go to Dayanand Sagar to hire students.
Okay, sir.
Right? What will we look for when we hire, when we pay 6 to 8 lakhs for a student?
Of course, skill set will be seen.
Did you need us to reply?
But sir, still, sir.
But sir, still, sir, what?
No,
even if we
I guess
consider...
the question is that how do you figure out what skill set she has? Because she may have...
Is that the question?
Is that a question? Because you may have learned...
What preference is given more? If suppose there are 2 students, one has in his 4 year of career, 4 years, one student has highly done, he has mostly done the internships, okay, and the other person, he has less experience on the internships, but has more experience on the project work. I'm talking about the project works done, for that I'm talking about. So
what's the difference between internship and project?
Project something
so
they
project
do as
as an
part of their
academic projects
BTech.
I'm talking about.
Yeah. The
Okay.
project
Part
they are
of the
doing it
curriculum
while,
or
here,
anything.
while being here. Internship, for example, they are interning with a company, which is giving them a real life work.
Okay, for us, in our times, both were same.
Now it has changed.
No, it's changed. Okay, I mean, I don't have an answer around this. As long as the person, number one, has solid academics, which means they were serious about whatever they were doing and studying. Two, they are able to have very clear responses in terms of technical stuff. That's what my technical managers will look for. And finally, whether you've done project or internship, as long as you're able to get the work done, I think that person would get
Chandra,
selected.
you want to add? I think she drives recruitment for Telstra, an Australian firm. I think let's hear from her also.
So I think just going back to what he said, doesn't matter. Skill is what matters. So when I'm assessing students to hire for my organization, the assessment is the same for all of you. So what is the score you get? Like, for example, I have hired people who have got their overall GPA less, but they've scored very well in my assessment, wherein they've done very well in coding. So there could be, a permutation combination of both. How you have fared, what is your total GPA, and then how you have fared in the assessment. So it's going to be a combination of both, but definitely the skill matters.
I guess the stress is that should I toil to get an internship or do a project?
Yeah,
That's what
yes,
she's
sir.
asking, basically.
Honestly
there is
speaking,
there is
it doesn't make a difference at
There is
all.
no clear-cut answer for that.
Like we should balance both.
Is the depth of your answers in the interview, right? Whether you have done an internship or a project, if they question you a little on what you did during the internship, what you did in the project, what was the outcome of the project, if you're not able to answer in depth, it then becomes very clear to the interviewer that maybe you just, just went through the process and you didn't really put in the effort to get the outcome. So it doesn't really matter. Internship, projects, what matters is the depth. So the technical depth is what they look for.
Ma'am, you had a question. Ma'am,
Thank you all.
Anybody has any other question before we wrap up? Okay. This is the last question. We'll then have a closing remarks and we'll close it. Or if anybody has a question, they're welcome. So we will not deny answering a question.
Really sorry to bother you with another question.
Moderation. It's about, this is, in the workplace, they call this inclusivity, right? So it's about getting everyone included. That's what it is.
Yes, ma'am. I had a question again. It's again related to AI because this is one thing which we've all been hearing. And personally, my mother is also like a HR in a company, a small one, different one. But she also, she keeps feeding me these new news which goes on in the HR industry and the tech-based background industry and everything. She keeps telling me whenever I meet her, I'm in the hostel, but when I go home, she tells me that this happens, that happens in the workplace. I see her with her meetings with her clients and everything. So in that, they talk a lot about AI and how even in the news we read right now that AI data scientists are getting such high-paying jobs. And as ma'am said, AI skills are in very high demand. And AI data scientists are getting paid such high-paying jobs. What's stopping people from what's stopping all of us from just doing AI and nothing else? And how real is this statement saying that present major high-paying jobs, tech jobs, would be of AI background?
Okay, no, I'll take that and then maybe I'll hand it over. There is hype, okay, to be very fair. It will take time for AI to manifest itself to such an extent that the only talent you want is AI skills, okay? Because organizations, and today every organization is an IT organization, very frankly. You take a retail organization, digital has made every industry an IT organization. That's what digital skills have done. People are bored with this question, so maybe I should give this to you one-on-one answer, right? Because nobody else seems to be interested to listen, maybe. Yeah, I should continue, Anand? Yeah, okay.
I guess, I mean,
yeah, so what I was trying to say is that AI is not going to change. It'll be in phases, right? Generative AI has come up now. Organizations are still grappling with it. Organizations are figuring out to build those LLM models, okay? And, it will, by the time AI impacts every aspect of an organization's function, it will take easily another maybe 6-8 years, right? Because organizations are very, very, very complex. The kind of functions that have, HR itself will have multiple functions. Then there is supply chain, then there is finance, then there is the actual tech job, or, in a retail organization, the actual retailers. Are you saying that, in a retail operations job, you don't need finance person? You don't need a engineer who will code the system that is running the operations supply chain of an organization. So no, AI will not take away all jobs. All skills will become important. AI, it's like, what is a niche skill among the skills? It's niche because there aren't too many people with those skills today, and there is high demand because everyone wants to ride the AI wave, right? But that doesn't mean other skills are not important. Other skills are also important.
You want to add, or Chandra want to add?
Like she mentioned, yes, there's a lot of hype around AI. And like I mentioned earlier, for you to make yourself relevant, you need to upskill yourselves on various skills. The best way to do that is go on LinkedIn and look at the various jobs that are open. I do that to educate myself on what are the skills in the market. Recently, probably a week or 2 weeks ago, I looked at a skill that I hadn't even heard of or seen of, which was again in the healthcare domain. So the best way is to look at what are the other skills other than AI, which is leading in the market, is to go and look at the jobs available and what are the skills that you're looking for. And is it something that interests me? And is it something that I would want to learn? And that's how you start picking up skills and not just go behind AI because everybody else is going behind it.
I want to add one point that struck me just now. In the world of AI, there'll be AI consumers, which will be the larger set of people. To be an AI consumer at your workplace also needs some skills. So you can't say that AI is a hype, and so I have nothing to do with AI and I'll go sit under a rock. You can't. So you need to know enough to be able to use AI in your work, right? So it's called, there are skills like prompt engineering. What kind of prompt do you ask AI bot so that it gives you the right responses? So that's an AI consumer skill. Generative AI skill is an AI builder skill. So there are different levels of AI skills. What we are talking about, or rather your question was about an AI builder who is building those LLM models, etc. But you have a lot of other lower rung AI skills because not everyone aspires to be an AI builder, right? But everyone should be an AI consumer.
Very good. And regardless, I don't think, whether AI is real or not, obviously it is real. I don't think it will be able to absorb so many people. You said, should everybody learn AI? I think you should learn more fundamental data probably, right? They say data is doubling in the world every 2 years now, right? And there is no job which can escape data analytics. There is absolutely no job. So you are better off learning data, and AI is also built on data. So you should actually go a level below, more fundamental level, and learn that skill, right? That's what I would like to say.
Yeah, now it is. Thank you. I'll give you a simple analogy, right? Every year, tomato and onion prices go up. All farmers everywhere sow onion and tomato, right? And then after 6 months, there's a glut where tomato is being sold at 2 rupees a kg, and farmers are dumping it on the road, right? So it's one thing to understand, be sharp about what is the wave and trying to ride it, right? There are other double clickable skills, thoda niche, which also are user skills, right? But then if I keep chasing what is around me, there is a minor fine chance that I might actually miss out on what is inherently me. if I have core, each of us has some strengths, right? Some tendencies, some preferences. If I can figure that out, am I really good with microcontroller programming, for example, or some chipset programming, right? Or am I really good at some other kind of consumer insights, data mining or data engineering, right? Try and figure out what you really love, because then, number one, it becomes much easier to learn. Two, it sticks with you. And once you're really good at it, competition doesn't matter. People come in search of you, right?
Very good. So we have one last question somebody wanted to ask from here.
So my question is going to be about HR itself. I've worked under an HR for 3 months, so I got to learn a few bit of things about how the industry works. I was given works like shortlisting resumes and all of that. But when I spoke to him in detail, he was telling me that there can be AI models developed in like shortlisting resumes, and before the further rounds, again it's based on AI, but before pushing the candidates to the further rounds, he wanted some models which can shortlist candidates. And if I as an engineer want to work on something like that, can I have a take on it?
Yeah, there are enough number of startups that are doing it. From the company point of view, it's a very dangerous thing actually, okay? Because too many, variables here. It depends on what the person has chosen to mention on the resume. It goes purely by that. Number two, you're training your AI model to pick up things that you think are required. Often, like one of you my panelist was saying, what is there on the JD and what's required on the job are two different things. So AI will go completely content, right? You give something and say, this is a template, I want resumes. It will give you resumes. You'll pick resumes. Finally, that guy will fail on the job. It's impacting businesses. The most important and most dangerous thing is it is going to kill innovation in terms of organizational innovation. Because you're going to end up hiring the same kind of people, all cookie cutter kind of stuff. You're applying such a strong filter that any diversity that is going to come in and bring in new fresh ideas, fresh pair of eyes, right? You're going to lose all that. So it's very important. I don't know how the guys who are doing it are, yeah.
There was a research done, where, so there are a lot of companies, a lot of startups. I know of one called HireVue, right? HIREVUE. They have a full AI-based model which helps you in hiring. But what most companies do is they take this as an assist, right? So it's AI-assisted hiring. It's not AI hiring, right? So AI will do the shortlist, might give you a set of parameters on which this individual is high, low, etc. But still there is a human interviewing and making a decision, right? AI can even read facial expressions, right? There are, we are in fact internally experimenting within the company because we are running some within the company selection processes, right? So we are getting people to video record their answers, and we are, we're trying to run an AI algorithm that will study facial features, etc., and tell us how this individual would be. But all of these are at very nascent stage, but AI-assisted hiring is very prevalent. Research shows that if you go purely by AI hiring, it has actually failed. So AI-assisted hiring works very well, but pure AI hiring doesn't work.
Very good. So, yeah, please.
Just to add on, my organization has just started with virtual assistant, and we've just started using it for the purpose of candidates applying for different roles. So the primary challenge at this point in time is I have one job and I have 10,000 applications. And those 10,000 applications need not have the skills that I'm looking for. Anybody just sees an open role, they just go and apply for it. So what is AI doing for me is as soon as a candidate comes on the job portal, it asks, what are the skills that you have, right? So when the person or the candidate says, these are the skills I have, let's say I'm a Java developer or I'm a full stack developer and these are the skills that I have, it says these are the 2-3 jobs that is relevant for you, for your experience. So you can apply for these 3 jobs. What it has done is it has decreased the amount of work my recruiters have to put in to go through all those 10,000 resumes. So now it's probably 100 resumes where maybe 30 are relevant and 70 are not relevant. I'm not telling that the work is, but at least it's reduced the job. And the other part, scheduling. Interview scheduling is a big job. Now, what AI is doing for us is it picks out the job's hiring manager and tells the candidate, you first have to do this assessment. Like she said, the video assessment happens, and then there's another assessment. So when they clear that, it says, hey, this is the timings that the hiring manager is available. So what time are you available? And that does the scheduling job. So what is happening here? The scheduler job is slowly going away, and AI is taking up the scheduling job. So we are getting there. There are both pros and cons, like they mentioned. So we just have to see how it goes and where it goes and what we need to pick up and what we need to eliminate eventually.
Very good. So what we'll do is we will now, I will request the panel members to give their closing remarks. I know we discussed a lot of things about change, gig economy, mental coping strategies, why headcounts are dropping. So I would request them to give closing remarks on, for students, how should they prepare for the changes and what skills they should shape up, right? I think if you can, keep your closing remarks, how should they prepare to now actually to face the change and what kind of skills?
And I think
I would say softer
we've
skills.
summed it up the last couple of minutes, the same topic. So yes, like they all said, it's about learning and learning. So how you're going to upskill and reskill yourself. So there's no particular skill that you're going to pick it up and then you will be hired for sure. So ensure that you keep on burning that learning lamp in your mind and you go ahead and do what is expected from you. And like Saraswati mentioned, it's all about being open to feedback, being flexible, and being absorbed into what is being told and what you want to do. And follow your passion. And just because, AI is the one, everybody don't go behind AI. Follow what you want to do. And I guess that should get going. And it's a temporary phase wherein there is a decrease in the hiring, but it's going to pick up. Like I said earlier, we are going to bounce back with vengeance. And that's going to happen when the workforce has the skills that is expected by the organization. So it's just a temporary phase, so hang in there and I guess you'll make it.
I just have a very short reflection that life is very beautiful and your campus is providing so much of opportunity to diversify yourself, learn art, culture, along with technology. And see, as human beings, we are blessed with this, a power to create opportunities for ourselves. It's all about how do you look at things. Whenever there is a problem, don't look at problem is bigger than you. Instead, if you make yourself bigger than the problem becomes easily resolvable. So that is where I look at it. Life is beautiful. Don't be worried about what is going to happen in the future. Just be a creator, then it will be easy for you to create a better life for yourself. Thank you so much.
I just want to say what I already said before. Career is a marathon, not a sprint, right? So you have to have patience in life to have a very long career. So that's all.
Very good. Very well said.
If you're sitting here in this room and able to understand what all of us said, I think you're at the top 2 or 3% of India's elite, right? In terms of population and opportunity to learn and do. If you guys can't do it, nobody else can. Right? Have that confidence in you. And a lot of stuff, learn broad, learn deep, right? And ensure to keep in mind the interpersonal aspects of having some personal mastery. I think you're on your way. Thank you and all the best.
So on that note, they deserve a round of applause. Sir, you want to add anything from your side? Dean sir, you want to add anything?
Yes, thank you very much for wonderful, interaction with all the panels here. I was just hearing, in the beginning, a lot of things have been told, and with all the experience, I think students would have probably, I think all of our students would have understood what the reality is, the situation right now. It is not the question of just AI. So probably I think we need to see how best, which we And I was just carefully listening upon the, how to update ourselves. As long as, I think we are updated each and every technology, what is coming in, and unless we have a confidence in to build that, I think that is the key finally, end of the day. I think with that note, the student should not worry too much on what is happening currently. Probably, I think they should look forward how to, skill themselves. Not only the, scorecard, whatever that they have as a degree certificate. In addition to that, what skill that they have to acquire in the present scenario, whichever skill it could be. I mean, I think that should really, give them an edge at any point of time to stand as an outstanding graduate. So that's my message at this point.
Thank you very much to all the panel members for the great insight and answering all our questions, and especially for me for the patience. But now I call upon Shiksha, a member of Student Council, to deliver the vote of thanks. And Srimati Ma'am as well for delivering the vote of thanks.
Good evening to one and all present here. It's both my honor and privilege to stand before you today to deliver the vote of thanks for this remarkable HR Conclave 2024, Connecting Minds, Shaping Future at SOE DSU. So respected Dean Sir, the eminent panelists, faculties, and my dear students, we have had an enriching day filled with insightful discussions, innovative ideas, and valuable networking opportunities also. So first and foremost, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the panelists, the guests. Let me express my gratitude to our eminent panelist, Mrs. Saraswati Chandrasekharan, Associate Vice President and Principal Organization Development, Infosys. I would like to call upon Dean Sir and Shamantha Ma'am to felicitate her. Thank you, sir. My heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Akshara Damle, founder, Mano Samvada. On behalf of SOE DSU, I would like to also thank our panel guests, Dr. S. Nagasiddharth, Chief Human Resource Officer, Urban Piper. And also let me thank you, ma'am. And also like to thank Ms. Chandana Raja ji, Chief Human Resource Officer, Telstra. I would also like to express our thanks to our moderator, Anant Bhupali sir. We are also grateful to the authorities and the management. Thank you, sir. We are also grateful to the authorities and the management for their constant encouragement and support to bring together such a distinguished group of professionals and create a platform for learning and growth. I would also like to extend my gratitude to our Uday Kumar Reddy sir, our beloved dean, and our vice chancellor sir and the registrar sir. A big thank you to our volunteers, organizing committee and volunteers, and our Shamanta ma'am, Deputy Director, Student Affairs, and our student coordinators, student council heads, Rishi Hood and Shiksha SK, for their wonderful support and their backstage, whatever they have worked, the student volunteers have tirelessly worked for this event. Thank you all. And I would like to call upon Shiksha to come and take over.
Thank you, Srimati ma'am. I'm deeply pleasured with that. On a final note, I'd like to thank Srimati ma'am, Dr. Rochna Roy ma'am, Sudha Deepti ma'am, and Shivamma ma'am for being a part of this event's success. Without their support, we wouldn't have been able to achieve so much. So I'd like to request Sahitya to felicitate each of them. Srimati ma'am, please come on the stage. Dr. Rochna Roy ma'am. Shivamma ma'am. Sudha Deepti ma'am. Okay. On a final note, thank you for the entire Department of Student Affairs, my team. Surya, Jai Surya, Swapnil, thanks for being a great MC. Arjun for the flute performance, Neha for the wonderful Kathak performance, Bharat and the media team, Tejas, Kaushik, and everyone who is here today to make this event a success. Without you all, this wouldn't have been such a huge event. Thank you all, and thank you, sir, for being part of it. Thank you for all the panel guests as well. It was could we have a small group picture with the volunteers and panel guests?